Crime and Punishment. My God, this book gets better and better. Oh, I finished reading part 3 and 4 2 days ago, and here's the few things that are still on my mind. Hazumikin might be the greatest side character in all of classics. You can argue all you want. I've made up my mind. Raskolnikov gave himself away to the police. Lucin, the man that was supposed to marry Raskolnikov's sister, turns out to be an asshole. Seriously, he's an asshole. Svidrigailov, I don't know how to pronounce his name, so I'm going to put it on the screen. He's bad, but not that bad, right? The detective, I believe his name is Porphyry. I'm pronouncing his name wrong, so I'm going to put it down. Oh my God, he might be the second coming of Sherlock Holmes. Seriously. Quote me on that, but I am so serious. This book, seriously, is phenomenal. But before we go into all the details and listen to me yap for like 20 minutes, if you're new here, my name is Ivan. Welcome to Books by Ivan, and I read books. And today we're going to be talking about part 3 and 4 of Crime and Punishment. With that being said, I'll see you guys at the beginning. Hazumikin. Oh, he's just amazing. In the previous video, I mentioned how he's my favorite character, but in this video, I'm gonna break it down as to why he is such a great character. Alright? Bear with me now. Coming at number 1, right? Hazumikin is so loyal and compassionate. No, seriously. Hazumikin, hopefully I'm pronouncing his name right. His loyalty to Raskolnikov is unwavering, right? There are plenty of times in the book when Raskolnikov pushes him away. But Hazumikin, as the great man, great gentleman that he is, and how he genuinely cares for Raskolnikov, right? Decides to stay by his side. He goes out of his way to help him despite all of the cruel behavior that Raskolnikov has towards him. That's one of the points, right? He's loyal and compassionate. Next up, right? Raskolnikov is like the comic relief in this book. In my opinion, he is like so funny sometimes, right? His humor and like the warmth that he brings to the story is unmatched. As you all know, this book, the theme is like dark, right? It talks about like his inner turmoil and psychological struggle that Raskolnikov goes through. But Hazumikin, he has a lively personality, and he has an ability to connect with others that make him a refreshing presence, which is why he stands out to me as my favorite character and arguably the best character in the entire history of classics. I haven't read that many classics, bear that in mind. As I dive deeper into the rabbit hole, maybe my opinion will change, but as of right now, Hazumikin is the best. Right? Another one is that Hazumikin is the redemption, right? He embodies love and human connection, right? Towards the middle of part 3 and the beginning of part 4 of the book, Hazumikin's affection towards Raskolnikov's sister, Dunya, that's how she's called in the book, just helps her. He helps her in so many ways, right? He supports her, his family, And to me, he stands as like a symbol of stability and hope. He is that extra character that is just perfect. Do you understand? And another thing is, right, Hazumikin and Raskolnikov are so different. As I mentioned earlier, Raskolnikov, throughout the entire book, after part one, all we do is just read about his inner turmoil and like all the psychological struggle he goes to. Right? It's just dark environment, right? But Hazumikin on the other end is that like pragmatic and optimistic character, right? They are separate being. Raskolnikov represent nihilism. I guess I could say that, right? And Hazumikin is the opposite of it. I don't know what the opposite of nihilism is, but if you know what it is, in my opinion, that's what Hazumikin is. He is the perfect character. Point close. Now we're going to talk about why Raskolnikov cannot keep to himself. Seriously, the man commits the perfect murder, yet he decides to give himself away to every person or policeman he comes across. That man needs help, right? I believe that Raskolnikov behavior, right? The reason why Raskolnikov does it, in my opinion, is that he subconsciously desires redemption, right? If you add that combined with the guilt, the pride that he has in the fact that he didn't get caught, and the paranoia that came with it, because in part 4, I highlighted I highlighted an entire page. I'm not sure you can see, but this thing that is highlighted, it's him losing his mind. He's becoming paranoid. Right? The paranoia drives him to give himself away repeatedly because he doesn't want the guilt. He doesn't want to see or hear what he's hearing right now. He's borderline schizophrenic. Right? But allow me to break it down, right, in a few points. First of all, the obvious one, the guilt. The overwhelming guilt that he feels. After he commits the murder, Raskolnikov is consumed by guilt, right? At the beginning, right, he killed because he was short of money. He had his reason to. He believed that he could justify his killing, not because of the money, but because he is an extraordinary man. Because if you remember, he wrote a book at the beginning that talks about the average man and the regular man and the extraordinary man. He considers himself to be part of the extraordinary man. He gives himself reasons to kill aside from the money, right? And the guilt pretty much manifests in some subconscious action. It could be the compulsion to test earlier how he went to the bar to that one guy. I think his name was Somiotov. I may be completely wrong. And just blurt out all the crime he has committed. Another point, right, that I strongly believe is impacting how he's behaving right now is the desire for punishment. Deep down, Raskolnikov wants to be punished. He wants to alleviate his guilt, right? Giving himself away is pretty much inviting others, the detective who I will talk about later, to catch him, to arrest him, and give him punishment so that it could give him what he desperately needs. Right? That's, I think, the punishment that he seeks so much is mainly what is worsening his condition, because you have to remember he's in a state of delirium like 24/7. Once again, aside from the paranoia and the stress, another point is the fact that he is arrogant, but not arrogant in a way that I'm better, but in intellectual arrogance, right? If you remember earlier, I mentioned that he considered himself to be not regular man, but extraordinary man. And he hints that he's the murderer to not just to the police, but to his friend multiple times. But because, right, of his intellectual, he doesn't think that he's gonna get caught because of what he does. But over the course of part 3 and 4, it's more adamant that he wants to give himself in, but he doesn't want to be seen as an idiot or something similar. Right? But that is what I think Raskolnikov kept giving himself away to the police. It has to do with his intellectual arrogance, his desire for punishment, and the guilt that he feels. If you also include the paranoia and the stress, those are the reason why he wants to give himself away. And that will conclude Raskolnikov. Pyotr Petrovich Lusin. He's an asshole. I'm not going to spend too much time about him. He's genuinely a selfish, egotistical prick. Okay? He's misogynistic and controlling. He's hypocrite. He's materialistic. He's insecure and jealous. Alright? He is such an asshole because he's selfish, he manipulates, and he is morally bankrupt. The reason he went for Dunya, she's such a kind and gentle woman, right? She's the sister of Raskolnikov. The reason he went because he wanted to manipulate her, because he wanted a woman from a poor background that had already experienced what it's like to be impoverished or something along the lines. He wanted them to rely on him 24/7 for everything they needed, right? His desire for control is what I believe, right, is rooted from his insecurity and his greed. He is such a terrible character. So far, right, ever since I started this channel, I read about 6 books. I never hated a character so much. He's such an asshole, right? He explored others without regard for their dignity or feelings, right? He is a terrible character. I don't want to talk about him anymore. This is the end of it. We're moving on to the next person. I'm going to keep this part very fast because I don't want this video to be really long, but this part is about Arkady Ivanovich Vidrigailov. I said his name wrong. I'm sorry. Like I said, he's not bad. He's bad. Let me rephrase that. He's bad, but he's not evil bad. He's not like he's not like Lusin, right? He's decent, but he's also not evil. Right? The reason I say that is because he's driven by self-interest. He often engages in immoral behavior. Like, if you remember, if you have read the book, he makes predatory advances towards Dunya. Once again, Dunya is the sister of Raskolnikov. She used to work at his house as, I believe it was a maid. I may be completely wrong. Don't quote me on that. Right? He also likes to exploit people from relationship, right, to benefit him. Sometimes, the reason I say he's not all evil, I mean, he's not evil, but he's bad. Sometimes he displays acts of kindness and generosity. That's what throws me off a little bit. It's how, right, he's financially helping Katerina Ivanovna. Katerina Ivanovna is the mother of Raskolnikov. Or I'm thinking about the wrong person, I'm not entirely sure. He helps him financially. He's not devoid of empathy or morality, but he's a complex character. He's complicated. He's a flawed person. Okay, he has a dark past, just like many of us do. About how he beat his wife and how that led to her death. Yes, he beat his wife and she ended up dying because those two are related. He is in one way like Raskolnikov, right? What I mean by that is that they are both such dark characters, unlike my favorite character, my boy, the gentleman Hazumekin. Raskolnikov and Svidrigail Love, I don't know how to pronounce his name. They are like dark character. Because from the way I see it, Raskolnikov is about, right? He's about to embrace nihilism, while Svidrigailov has completely embraced it. But after killing says he didn't actually do it. He says that his mind is freed, right? He doesn't feel any guilt, but I doubt that's the case, because if it was the case, he would not have mentioned it or goes in detail so much about it, right? But that's just my opinion of it. I don't want to keep dragging this video any further. I'm pretty sure none of you already got this far. So if you got this far, I want you to comment down the number that I'm holding right now. But yeah, he's a complex character. He's bad, but he's not evil. But he also shows kindness, but selfishness, right? And that's all I'm going to say about this character. Let's move on to the one that intrigued me the most, the detective. As much as I would love to go on in full details about this character, I don't want to make this video longer than 20 minutes. I'm pretty sure it's like 16 minutes already, so I'm gonna have to keep it short. Petrovich. Oh, let me say his name properly. Let me put some respect on his name. Porfiry Petrovich. He is the second coming of Sherlock Holmes. That man is phenomenal. He is a master of psychology. He uses subtle tactics to get what he wants from the people that he interviews, right? He toys with Raskolnikov one way or another. Aside from his wit and charisma that he possesses, he also has empathy and humanity, which is needed in this book. This book is dark. This book is dark. Not like I want to kill myself dark, but dark in I'm going to stand on my ceiling after I'm done reading this dark. But he has empathy and humanity, which is needed in this book, in my opinion, right? And after reading part 4, he started something in Raskolnikov. I think that was the catalyst for the transformation, right? As much as I would love to dive into this, I'm gonna have to keep it short. So the summary of the character, right? Porfiry Petrovich. I love his name. He stands out because of his psychological brilliance, right? The way he uses his intellect on people to get them to talk is fascinating, right? And the way that he approaches crimes with such empathy, tries to understand why exactly they're doing it. what is the reason, and he tries to see how certain character would act afterwards, right? His role, both as a detective and a guide for Raskolnikov, right? He it elevates him. By him, I mean Petrovich. It elevates him from being a mere investigator to, I don't want to sound too complex when I'm saying this, but it's more of like he went from a regular investigator to a force of redemption, like a philosophical counterpoint to all the mess that's happening in the book, right? And I think, right, that Dostoevsky made a character like this because he wants him to be like unforgettable, just like how Hazumikin is, right? He wanted an unforgettable figure in the novel, right? I wanted a character that embodies the theme of justice, morality, and human understanding. I'm not sure you get what I'm getting at, but I think that's the reason as to why Porfiry Petrovich was written that way in the book and why he is such a great character. He is a close second to my boy, the gentleman, the one and only Hazumikin. He is close to being second, right? But that's the main point of the video. This is more like a side thing, but there's a girl that's 18 that works as a prostitute because she wants to keep her family from all the disaster. She's the daughter of Murmalatov. If you don't remember Murmalatov is, if you start reading the book, the first like 10-20 pages, it's just him talking about his family, the condition he was in, the background that he's come from. He ends up dying at the end of part 2, early part 3. He ends up dying, and his daughter started doing sex work to give money to her family to keep them afloat. As I was reading this, on one hand, I was like, she's still a child. She doesn't deserve this. Right? 18, you're still a child. I'm 19 years old. I know I don't look like it, but I'm 19. Technically still a child, early adulthood. But on the other hand, she wants to help her family because she has the education, but she didn't go to school and she doesn't know what else to do. So she just did that to help her family. I don't know how to feel. I'm torn, right? It left me empty. After I've read her part, I just stopped reading for a while. It just left me empty a little bit for me to gather my thoughts. But that's like the side point, something else that I believe needs to be mentioned. But she cares for her family. She has a deep-rooted love. She feels guilt and embarrassment about her job, her profession, but the love for her family and the belief in God is what is keeping her, sane. Even though in the book it's mentioned that she is a biblical fool. But I believe that I needed to mention it in the video towards the very end because it still torments me one way or another. Alright, sorry. Let me end this video right here because I'm gonna start thinking and diving down a rabbit hole like I did a couple of days ago when I was reading that part. But if you enjoyed this video, my name is Ivan, and this was part 3 and 4 of Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. If you have anything you'd like to say, please let me know in the comments. As always, have a good day and be good people. Bye.